So the first thing we do is connect the side panels to the modesty panel. So here I've laid out my two side panels. For each of the side panels I want to determine which one's the left side and which one's the right. And we can work this out by standing each panel up on its feet. So the feet are these little white plastic feet that are glued onto the bottom. And the top side you'll see has holes drilled in it for cam bolts to go through. That's for the side panels and the modesty panel once they're connected together to drop onto the cam bolts for the desktop. So we'll get to those, but for now we just want to make sure which one's left and which one's right. And this one is going to be the right hand side, because I can see looking at the inside of the panel that we have these 4 holes here for the modesty panel to go into. Now the reason you've got 4 and not just 2 is because you might want to have the panel up against the back of the desk, as I'm going to do with this one, or you might want to have it on the inside, and then that gives you space here to hide the cable rack behind, which is sometimes what you might want to do in a school environment, to hide the cables from the kids and kicking legs, etc., and all that sort of thing that stops them from getting pulled out and damaged. So the other side of the side panel, of course, is clean. So there's nothing drilled in that because it's going to be on the outside of the desk. Okay, so first thing I'll do with my right side panel is lay it down, and I'm going to screw the cam bolts into that one. So we just need 2 cam bolts and a screwdriver is pretty much all you'll need to assemble this desk. And I'm going to insert these. So you just want to be careful that you get the thread nice and straight when you screw these in the first time around. So just be a bit careful if you're using an electric screwdriver, because that will have a lot of torque and power, and if you go in on a funny angle then you could easily damage it, so just be careful. And these only need to be just nipped up, they don't need to be very tight. You'll feel them stop once they get to the base anyway, and you won't have to do them up too tight, and that's got plenty of strength in it. So all good, there's one side done. Okay, so moving on to the next one. So logically the next one has to be the left hand side. And notice how our holes for the connection of the modesty panel are on the other side this time. So this is the top once again. It's got the holes for the cam bolts for the desktop to drop into. And all we need to do is get those bolts once again screwed into those 2 holes. Okay, so just another 2 of these. Another 2 cam bolts. And once again, just being careful, start slowly and just make sure you're holding it straight as you apply a little bit of pressure just to get the first few turns in. Even if it starts on a tiny angle, it should pull itself straight again once things get going. And just nip them up so just tight enough. No need to put excessive force on them. Okay, so now that we have our side panels cam bolts in place, we can look at connecting the modesty panel. Okay, so here we have the modesty panel laid out long ways, and notice how it has a couple of holes at either end, and these of course are the 2 holes where our cam bolts are going to connect to the modesty panel. So I'll just get this on a better angle so we can see how the connection works. Now the other thing that's important to get right is make sure the underside, which is the exposed side, is the bit that has the nice finish on it, as you can see here. That side needs to be in the right place. Now it's easy to work this out. If I turn this one up, you'll see once again we've got holes here where the desktop goes. So you know that the whole side, if you like, has to line up with the side of the side panels that have the holes in them as well. So in this case, it's going to be the left-hand side. So I might turn this around so we can actually do the right-hand side first, and you can see how it connects. Now I think you can just see the holes that need to line up. Now this is the first connection we've made, so one thing I'm going to check is that the little other part of the cam system lines up. So what you'll see is there's a little arrowhead that points only from one part of the circle, and if you turn that so the arrowhead is pointing toward the hole, then that will mean the locking cam will line up with the cam bolt. So when we slip the bolt into that hole, everything's going to line up and go in without having to force it. Okay, so I'll just line up one side first and the other, and in they go. And I can then lock these up. So turn them clockwise. Make sure your panel is relatively straight. Your side panel's at a right angle to the modesty panel, and then it should just be a matter of turning that clockwise, and it will basically grab the bolt and pull it tight. Okay, so that's one side done. So I can slide this one back a little bit, give myself some room to work with, and I can do the same to the other side. I'm just once again making sure the arrowhead on the cam block is pointing toward the hole, and lining up the two bolts, gently easing those into the holes. And now I'll just gently keep everything flush, gently tighten those up. So once they're nipped up, you don't want to push against it hard, but you can leave that without having to worry too much about holding it. And that is the underside of the desk done. So something else we should do before we flip the underframe up and get it out of the way is to put the cable rack on the underframe. So this is our cable rack that's going on the inside in this case, and it would have been wiser of me to do this before putting on the two side panels, but that's okay, we can deal with that easily enough. So that's where it's going to go. So I need to get the brackets for that. So this is what they look like. Our two screws are going to go into these two holes at the bottom, and same on the other side as well. And these are the screws. There's only 4 of these, so they can't be mixed up with anything else. Okay, so just make sure you're aware of which part of your modesty panel is the top. So the exposed raw side, and when you put these on, the rack is going to clip into the bottom one and then lock into one of these. So you just need to make sure that you put it on the right way around. Don't put it upside down or it'll have nothing to lock into. So the way we're looking at our modesty panel there, these are going to go this way up. So you'll see that soon enough. And I'll just zoom in. So you can see we've got 4 pilot holes that have been drilled for these. All I need to do is screw these in. So start with the left hand side. So you may need to apply a little more pressure with these than you would with the cam bolts. And same again. We'll just line that up the centre, apply a bit of pressure. So you've got to be careful once again that you don't over tighten these once you get them all the way in, because you don't want to strip the thread. So first thing is to find the right spot. So I've got 3 squares on either end, then hang it into the little cup that it fits into, and then you can just shuffle it along a little bit for getting it central if you need to, and then just pop it into place. And that is how it should look. So now I'm ready to flip this over onto its top, because it's then going to be dropped onto the upside down top. So I will grab another set of hands. That onto its top. Very good. And we just slide it back to the wall again. Thanks, mate. Awesome. Cool.